Howdy everyone, Runt9 here, and welcome back to Runt9 Plays Nova Drift. It's a new week, and I always love hopping in. We're still playing on the beta branch. I have a few patches in, but not a whole lot going on, just mostly some UI changes. Salvo was buffed, Grenade was buffed. Speaking of Salvo, how about we do a Salvo run? We'll do kind of just the basic, typical thing that I like to do. We're gonna go Firefly, and basically right out of the gate, give me magnitude, get to charge shot, and I mean, we're gonna do my typical Salvo run. What is my typical Salvo run, you might ask? Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. You basically go charge shot, you make as many big missiles as possible with heavy calibers and things like that. Warp strike is an important aspect for sure. Speaking of warp strike, let's make sure that we work on that very early on. One of the big pieces is antimatter rounds plus solar hearts, as that goes a long way towards buffing each individual missile. There we go. One of the things that was toned down is just some of the early waves were made a little bit less insane. You can see the asteroids. There were a lot of quality of life improvements, as you'll see. Like if we ever hit the pause screen, these are now a lot more contextual. So very little minor improvements, but the big thing is, you know, Chimeric is working on Enemies 2.0. That's going to be the next major update, and needless to say, I'm incredibly excited for what that's going to entail. You're going to hit me with an early revelation. I'm going to take it in an early charge shot. This is a great way to start this out. We're going to want some projectile targeting pretty quickly as well. Erosion is a big one. I mean, it's a very standard build. Gonna want Essence Sap and Terminate before we get too far along. Want to make sure that we're ready to go for the big O. Unintentional rhyme there. There's Terminate. Love to see it. So far, so good, and we've got a revelation ready to go for when we see something that really tickles our fancy. I'm not sure what that would be. We may just hold on to it for a while. Wait until we can pick up maybe a Defiance, or probably a Solar Heart is a tough one to turn down just because of what it can add to the run. I don't know that I want to go heavy caliber right out of the gate. There is Blink. There's Essence Sap. A lot of core things already being taken care of. Actually going to re-roll that. There's some projectile targeting. We're getting what we need for the most part. Little baby jug, not too big of a deal. Just make sure you charge up those rockets. So this is a pretty strong early game, which Salvo is, well, sorry, mid game. I guess this is still early game. It opens up, Salvo opens up pretty easily against the first, 10 or so waves. And then once you get past Spitfire, Salvo usually starts to struggle, especially against enemies like this. And so being able to get through this will definitely showcase where our early build strength is. And so we got through that without too much trouble. So nothing to really be upset about. Get projectile velocity. I will gladly work on getting to corrosion. And yeah, we definitely haven't done much for our defenses yet. And that's mostly because at this point, I feel like we're in an okay state as far as being glass cannon is concerned. I'm not too worried about it. I think that after Big O, speaking of the devil, we're probably going to want to make sure that we start working on some shield upgrades. But we've got Essence Sap, that's the big one. We're going to want Gemini Protocol, the usual. I'll have the usual. It's the first Nova Drift recording of the day, so want to make sure that I start off with a good run. Don't do anything too stupid, and you can definitely see, Salvo, it only got a small damage buff, but it was definitely a noticeable increase. And a very welcome increase, if I do say so myself. because I am a huge fan of Salvo, and I very much appreciate it being buffed. I don't think it needed it, but I'm not going to say anything more on that. I'm happy that it's here. Masochism will end up being very useful. Having that self-damage resistance when we get into antimatter rounds and solar hearts, going to be very, very beneficial to have. I'm going to keep cranking on some other stuff. There's Snipe. That gets us closer to Warp Strike. If we get an early Warp Strike, this build will completely pop. We won't have much to worry about. Because at that point, it's basically just like pick your poison with your upgrades. Good stuff. Calibrate obviously does increase your velocity of the shots, which undoes a lot of the targeting work, but it also increases your targeting, so it ends up not being that big of a deal. One of these guys, try to just get them dead before they spawn too many enemies. Shield dude, honestly not a big deal, as you can see. So we're starting to have a pretty early pop here. This is what you would expect. Again, especially after the buffs. It basically took some of the load off of Salvo's notoriously weak early game. And the biggest point moving forward is in the late game, can you still scale okay? Let's see here. We're going to need Blast Radius, get Concentrated Blast for antimatter rounds, but honestly, we should probably pick up Gemini. Shield cooldown's going to be an important one as well. Like I said, we do want to make sure we get our defenses in order. You don't want to waver on that for too long, because then you can really put yourself in a rough spot. Again, also very much looking forward to trying to get a Warp Strike going. Stand back, let calibration do what it does. Try to get as many rockets into the baby jug as possible. And no, only a couple salvos and he's dead. And so I know that, like, traditionally what I'll do is just fire every time I have a charge ready. Sometimes it's better to just charge up for a little bit longer and build up a nice big salvo. There's Warp Strike. You'll love to see it. I'm gonna go get this XP before it's gone. Let's get in a better position for a good shot. There we go. You can see Warp Strike is immediately going to start putting in good work for us. It's such a huge, huge, huge thing to have on salvo runs. Honestly, we should still be able to get it even with the singularity popping. As I said, there's Gemini, obviously a big one. We are going to want to start working on core shielding as well. I'm not going to go Dying Star Rancor, though. I've found that for Salvo, it just gets to be a little bit rough because of how much self-damage you take from antimatter rounds. You can see, there's the power of Warp Strike. We only have to fire one direction towards the railgun shooters, and it wraps back around and takes care of the rest of the riffraff for us. Warp Strike plus the projectile targeting is just incredibly good on Salvo. We're going to want some rate of fire buffs, though. We aren't firing very large salvos. It would be nice to have more missiles at a time. Got a couple upgrades stockpiled. I'm going to sit on it for just a moment. All right, probably a good time to grab a couple upgrades here. Like I said, we're going to end up wanting adaptive armor to get into core shielding. Not going purification. Shield durability is a big one, but I think rate of fire and also getting to antimatter rounds going to be a big deal. Warpath is actually a good pickup. It doesn't immediately sound intuitive until you remember that rate of fire buffs increase recharge time. So as you kill enemies, you recharge your rockets faster. And so now you can see our salvos are generating much, much quicker with the rate of fire buff plus warpath. And, you know, the extra thrust from warpath isn't bad either. You definitely don't hate to see that. Start working towards antimatter rounds. We're probably going to want to get core shielding first, but we'll kind of just see how the upgrades shake out. I'm not going to force the issue if it's not there. We've done a good job of taking very little damage, and it's good because, I mean, I haven't played Nova Drift since stream on Friday. And before then, I hadn't played it since last weekend, so honestly, I expected to have to yeet a run or two, but so far, so good. Now, obviously, that's a great way to jinx a good run. So let's make sure that we still keep our wits about us. All right, looking for some more damage. Antimatter rounds is going to be hugely important. I mean, the thing is, we're still sitting on Revelation. Obsession, honestly, there's not enough recursive mods for me to really want to push that. Channeling isn't actually that great compared to Rebuke with Salvo, but I will go ahead and pick it up. It's because I want to get to core shielding pretty quickly. All right, I'm not sure that we are ready for this boss. Good damage, sure. All right, this is a spicy spot to be in. He's going to start throwing out more bullets soon. Okay, maybe we were ready for that boss. I underestimated where our damage potential was at. The rate of fire bonuses, the warpath setup, that's actually adding a lot more than I really gave it credit for. Getting a power up there is certainly a nice thing to have. Never hate to see that. Give me a better charge here, please. There we go. Oh, there's antimatter rounds, and I want to try to get core shielding, man. You know what? Actually, max hull is going to be an important one as well. But we do have Gemini Protocol. We've got shield cooldown. We should be in a good spot. Doesn't look like the self-damage is hurting too bad. Again, that's why I like going with the Firefly body, knowing that I'm going to do some self-damage shenanigans. And, you know, we want more flat damage per missile. So solar hearts are going to be important, but I'm going to get core shielding before we get there. But I think I'm okay spending a revelation on 3x solar hearts or 3x defiances and then just take every solar heart we see after that. One of those two things is going to happen. Honestly, the Defiance route is probably better. Maybe even Masochism, honestly, but Defiance has overall better tankiness. It also adds some recoil reduction, so when we grab some heavy calibers, we end up in a better spot as well. Here's core shielding. I've been talking about it for a while now. Rupture is a big one. Helps out a lot with worms, which you can struggle with even with corrosion. Rupture also helps out when you defeat big enemies, like a jug is pretty much a full screen clear when that happens. Almost ended up in a bad spot there, but ended up being okay. Not too far off from our first Seraph fight of the night. Ended up taking out those worms okay. This is a champion celestial? Yes, it is. So just dodge the mines and get out of there. Now, granted, I'm not against taking Rancor. I'm just not necessarily going to go out of my way for Dying Star because I think Dying Star is going to push the self-damage up too high. You should watch one of my earlier videos in Season 2 of why Dying Star can be a little bit too dangerous if you're not careful. So putting down some good damage right out of the gate, but obviously the focus is on just dodge the lance. Make sure you are charging up. Dodge the lance. I've gotten a lot better at the Seraph fight, that's for sure. It used to be much, much harder for me. So got him down to almost half HP. I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade here. I'm not too scared about it. Honestly, absorption, and you're tempting me with that Rancor, dude. That's fine. Give me a big Rancor. All right, and then Warp Strike, huge for dealing with the ads. Rancor does add to the lowered thrust. Corrosion stacks are ticking. Essence Sap is doing great. And he'll be dead on another couple more good volleys. How about we get one more big one at his face, and that did the trick. Seraph down. Okay. So, was a little bit dicier than I wanted it to be, but we got him dead. That's what matters. We are on to the rest of trying to get to 1 million, really. You know, this is certainly a build capable of 1 million. As it sits right now, you know, I think we could top out around the wave 175 mark. I don't know that we'll see a wave 200 as it sits. We probably would need to get some lucky rolls. Juggernaut, big considering the self-damage we're going to be taking on as time goes by. Obviously, thrust reduction is less than ideal, but you kind of have to deal with it in order to be tanky, and I'm okay not being able to be at peak thrust for a Salvo build. I don't think it's extra necessary or anything. So a heavy caliber here at this point does pop things off, as does a Solar Heart. This is our first full jug, so this is obviously a big damage check for us. Where are we on DPS? He almost got us, but we managed to get out of the way. Let's try to work our way back around to the side. I would prefer not to have him come flying at us again. All right, Rancor has got a pretty big charge for us, so that definitely added to the damage. Still feeling all right about this build, but not 100%. Singular Strike is obviously bad. Force Armor isn't bad. More damage resistance is nice. You know, obviously shield durability is something we should look at. I think it might be time to take some Solar Hearts. We have core shielding. We've got some solid self-damage resistance. You know, we're at 41%, and this is going to start making our each individual, missile hit that much harder. We do have to just keep an eye out, but, you know, I don't see our shields or hull moving that bad. So we're doing okay, and then at this point, I think we'll probably just stick with the 3 Solar Hearts for now. Take some Defiances if we see them. Pick up some Heavy Calibers. Heavy Calibers do great work on Salvo builds, since the decreased velocity ends up benefiting it. And as long as you deal with the recoil properly, it's not that big of a deal. Should have been charging there so Rancor could give us a good charge up. Honestly, as long as it is taking us to kill the Scion, as I say that it dies, you know, that is actually a concern right now. Even though it's a lowered rate of fire, I think that we're just going to have to bite the bullet and take a Splinter. Splinter just does a lot on Salvo. Obviously, Rupture is doing well for us as well. I'm also not against, what is it, Polar Inversion, because that does kind of keep them locked in a little bit closer so that they're more likely to take some additional blasts from more missiles. Our basic wave clear is in a good spot though, and there's our first heavy caliber. I think it's time to just go ahead and start stacking them up. Again, the minus projectile velocity is actually good for it, but 10% more size and damage added on top of charge shot, you know, it just starts really benefiting you as time goes by. It's a good way to get some additional damage scaling. But again, I'm feeling like, you know, a wave 175 is probably a reasonable upper limit at the moment. I just don't know that we have all the pieces we need to go that much further. And so it's not that I think Salvo is still underpowered. I just think that it doesn't necessarily have the best synergies to build out a really competent Salvo build. I think that it loses some of the later game damage scaling without just going all in on Solar Hearts like crazy. And there's another heavy caliber. I'm gonna re-roll, try to find some better stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Splinter here. I think that losing the rate of fire is bad, but Splinter from a wave clear perspective at this point, I think is gonna be better than having, you know, that 15% rate of fire. Because it really does help with clearing out the riffraff. Still not feeling bad about self-damage at all. We're in a good spot there. So ultimately, it's just keeping ourselves afloat. Don't get into dumb positions. Make sure you're dodging. You know, for the most part, we've done a good job of not taking much stupid damage this run. That's not to say that we haven't taken any, but just that for the most part, we've avoided some of my more common traps. We've got a good chunk of tankiness. And for the most part, our synergies are about as good as they can get. We just have to keep stacking them as we go. Now, each heavy caliber we get is going to increase. Oh, this is going to be a double celestial wave. Stay out of trouble. And okay, we handled that okay. Shield is down though, which is a scary prospect. Make sure you're dodging. And we had trouble with the Scion last time. Trying to make sure that we could get our shield recharged. All right, good kill, but definitely got spicy there for a minute. Good damage, but we're gonna need more. I think shield durability is definitely not out of the question. And barrier certainly wouldn't be a bad idea either. Good kill. So our damage output is fine at this point. It's not good, but that's just kind of something you expect with Salvo is your actual damage itself is not ever going to be crazy high, but the utility and the wave clear is why Salvo is A, strong, and B, fun, in my opinion. Another jug, huh? I mean, we've got some good tankiness. I'm not too super scared right now. Stay safe. Don't let it charge at you, because then you have to deal with a bunch of cluster mines. Good damage. Stayed mostly out of trouble on that one. All right, just let the missiles do what they do. Took out that wave very, very cleanly. You love to see it. We're coming up on that 750k that I thought might have been our limit. I don't feel like we're struggling at this point, but we are at the point of very, very few upgrades are going to come at this point. So the build we have is the build we have, and it just kind of has to work. It either works or it doesn't. We did just pick up an upgrade. Let's see what we've got. Honestly, none of these are that great. We could grab another solar heart. Where would that put us? So we're sitting at 4 wild mods, 5 wild mods, which means each of these is adding 5 flat damage. So we're at 15 flat damage plus 15% burn damage. If we added another one, that would add, it would basically be 4. So we would be pushing up to 25 or 24. I think the heavy caliber, at least for the moment, is still going to be an overall damage increase, but the solar hearts are tempting. Now at this point, I'm almost regretting not taking the obsession. Stay out of trouble, let your missiles do the dirty work. Emergency systems also would have been a great pickup, to be completely honest with you. We have so much hull damage resistance that we're really not taking much on normal hits to our hull. There's something off screen here. We have hit 790, so I think we might be able to pull off 1 million, but it's gonna be pretty tight. Some defiances at this point would help from, you know, just an overwhelming damage perspective. And, you know, we need to dodge better than that, to say the least. But also just like, try not to let yourself get overwhelmed. Don't get mind flooded, just stay calm. You're gonna be just fine, as long as you focus on the appropriate targets at the appropriate time and just dodge the important shots. That was a solid dodge there. Got a double we've got a single celestial and a double Spitfire wave. Honestly, shouldn't be too big of a concern, and it wasn't. Do have one of those bad dudes. Get in here, make sure we get our XP. Charge up a big one for this champion. Dodge the mines, though. You gotta dodge the mines. Doing all right. Oh, that's bad. I hate it when they come from off screen and immediately hit you. I hate those dudes shooting from off screen. It's so frustrating. Oh, the jug hit us. We're in a bad spot right now. This is probably getting to be about our limit. Got an upgrade, though. Don't think high explosive is really any good here. Blast radius isn't going to do much. Polar inversion, again, it's blast radius. I don't see it. Another solar heart. I think we have to take it. It's a spooky proposition. From the self-damage perspective, I think we don't have the self-damage resistance to really heal through it. But we do have Essence Sap. We've got a good shield cooldown right now, I would say. It's not great, but it's good. A lot of XP, brother. Just let Splinter do what it does for the big waves. Focus on at least doing somewhat decent aiming. Salvo is very noob friendly. That's the big thing, especially once you add some more projectile targeting on it, because you don't really have to point it. It'll kind of just figure it out. Just dodge these and then hit the Scion right in his dumb face. Okay, but also like dodge the laser though. Good kill. Really want shield to come off cooldown, though. Really want the shield off cooldown before we get hit with the double celestial or something like that. We did break 1 million. So at least this is a positive run as far as I'm concerned. We did break 1 million, but I feel like we're just starting to cap out here. We're getting overwhelmed and unable to kill enemies as easily as we need to progress much further. But hey, you know what? If we can get to wave 200 with the Salvo run, we'll probably die, but I will be very happy with that overall success. Try to get spun around better before we drop the shot. There we go. Much better. Just aim better. Honestly, I will say I am surprised we are still alive. I would have expected us to die a while ago. So like at this point, wherever we end up at, I'm happy. This was a really fun run. I've had a great time. Getting a little overwhelmed here. All right, just get through that part. Get to the part of the screen that has less stuff going on. Got an upgrade ready. I mean, another solar heart. I'd rather have another heavy caliber. Give me some rerolls. Reroll that one. Force armor does help our hull resistance, so I'm not against that, honestly. Just dodge those, and then we'll swap back to the other side, and then just dodge the laser while getting a charge ready. Wait for him to stop lasering, and then just shoot. There we go. That should be an easy kill. Okay, wave 200. What do we got, boys? Didn't dodge that lance. Didn't dodge that lance, I don't think. I think this is going to be it. We are likely to die here in just a second. But I'm going to keep trying. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Come on, Essence Sap. No! Get me out of the singularity. We're still alive. Somehow this is still working. Scion down. Just dodge. Just focus on dodging. You can get the Seraph later. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we made it through wave 200 with what I thought was going to be a less than 750k salvo run. I am pogged out of my freaking mind right now. Oh, baby. You love to see it. I legitimately was not expecting a 1.1 plus million run with what we had going on, but honestly, I have to praise myself for pulling out of that awful, awful spot we were in multiple times in that wave 200 fight. There were multiple times that we were down to less than a quarter HP, and I was like, just fire, let Essence Sap do what it does, and boy, did it. Honestly, I think if we didn't grab Force Armor when we did, we would have died. That extra 10% hull damage resistance ended up being huge. Now at this point, it's basically how long until a double champion celestial wave overwhelms us. That's basically all I'm waiting for at this point. I don't know if any other wave type is going to be able to kill us for a while. I say as we're getting just like absolutely swarmed. Shields off cooldown though. If we're able to pull another heavy caliber out, I think we might be able to get 1.5 million. It's gonna be tight. Like, we're not gonna see wave 300. Like, there's legitimately no, absolutely no way whatsoever. But I would love if we could pull out a 1.5 million at this point. Took a little bit of scary crash damage there. Get me to the other side of the screen. Oh, I still took the damage. I was doing an okay dodge and then I wasn't. Lines are dead. Oh, bad crash damage. Oh, we're okay. Fortunately, we've got a lot of crash damage resistance on our hull. It actually ends up not being that big of a deal. if we bump just a little bit. So here's a Celestial. I was waiting for it to kill us. I mean, basically, after wave 200, it's just all chaos all the time. Honestly, get me out of there, because I realize that's a bad place to be upgrading. That's a reroll. Reroll. I don't actually know what I'm searching for, but I think just another heavy caliber. Kinetic boost, though. It's a global damage increase. All right, we've got a lot of stuff. Just fire. Just fire. Let Essence Sap, let Warp Strike do what they are made to do. I can't believe how many tight spots we've been pulled out of at this point. Thank you for having armor plating. Shield is down again. Alright, I don't actually remember what our high score on YouTube is. I think it's 1.2. This may be our best YouTube run yet. We got a little too close to that Celestial. Should have played that smarter. Charge up a good one. You gotta play a little bit of a game of chicken with the jug. Oh, that was a scary prospect. We got bumped, and I saw a cluster mine wave, and I got very scared for a brief second there. Give me to the other side. Just wave clear. We're not at radio silence yet, but it's getting to the point where I've got to stop commentating as much just so I can really hone in on dodging and firing at least a quasi-decent angle. I hate late game Scions. All right, so a Scion Jug is very, very tough. Kind of got lost a little bit there. The Jug is dead. Just get to the... Oh, no, he's not. Never mind. I was very confused. This might be our end. The Jug got pulled into the Singularity. I'm not going to complain about that. And the Scion should be dead here. Yeah. Okay. Well then. Fire a bit less often. We're almost at 1.5 million. Like I said, I have to be pleasantly surprised both with the build and my play. I have made some stupid mistakes, but I've also been able to pull myself out of some pretty tight spots. The health scaling on late game Juggernauts is starting to be a bit of a problem. It is making a noticeable difference in our ability to kill a Juggernaut. But Rupture still puts in good work when a Juggernaut dies. I do love that aspect of it. The Juggernaut dying is basically a free screen clear. Rupture plus Corrosion plus Splinter, those worms don't do a gosh darn thing. Alright, I'm pretty convinced at this point that this is our highest YouTube run. I think my best run ever was maybe 1.8 million. But this is becoming one of my best runs ever. Whether it be on YouTube or stream or personally. I'm gonna have to double check my high scores after I finish recording today. I mean, this is basically what I'm like At what point does a double celestial wave kill us? It didn't, though, is the thing. Like, the number of times that I've just gotten overwhelmed by mostly just crash damage in celestial, double celestial waves. You know, it knocks me into a mine and then I just get exploderated. The comet killed the juggernaut for us. I very much appreciate that. I don't know why it's slowing down. I'm expecting just like a big wave to come soon. That was a good Rancor charge. You know what? Surprisingly, haven't seen many of you. Give me a good charge up here. Good damage. Corrosion is just doing insane work for us. All right, lots of crash damage taken there. We are in a rough spot. Dodge the fire, dodge the fire. Essence sap, please. Double celestials are gonna kill us. There's no way that we're getting out of this. There's no freaking way, dude! Oh my goodness, come on, Essence sap. Come on, shield cooldown. We are back at full. We are still alive. Oh my goodness. Reroll that. Barrier's a good one, but honestly, if we can make it to emergency systems, I think more damage is just more important. Give me a single masochism. It's not much, but 15% damage, the more damaged we are. Self-damage resistance, it's good stuff. It is definitely good stuff. Good comet for us. Another doubles champion celestial wave. Or no, it's just a regular champion. Or regular celestial wave. This is just a baby jug. $1.66 million. I'm trying not to pay too much attention to the score, but honestly, it's hard not to. Like, there's no way we're gonna hit 2 million, right? Like, there's just no way, right? Stop focusing on score for a minute. The radio silence is getting worse. I'm very aware, but I'm sure you guys understand there's a little bit going on the screen at the moment. And I'm just trying to stay focused in, stay in dialed. As Dan Giesling would say, make sure that you're still running your sets. And I'm not gonna stop running them. Bad damage. I hate cluster mine waves. I mean, look how much damage we took from cluster mines. It's just so hard to deal with sometimes. We very much should have picked up the power reserves. All right, this is a rough wave. We've got to get the Celestial down before we worry about the Seraph. We took a tank to Lance there. Radio silence. No! Oh, it had to end at some point. What an incredible run. 1.79 million. Ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's just buffed Salvo. 1.79 million absolutely destroyed our YouTube high score of the 1.1 What a great run. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your feedback, likes, dislikes, comments at Runt9 Plays on Twitter. Check out Discord in the description below. It's in the link tree there. In addition, twitch.tv/Runt9 Plays. I play Nova Drift over there all the time. And, you know, subscribe here if you want to see more videos like this as they come out. But for now, until the next episode, I'm Runt9, and I will see you later.